Hey there, sports fans. Mike Crook here with Free Sports Press coming at you with episode number dos for Laces Out. It's been a little bit over a month since our last episode, mainly because we wanted to have our intro finished to throw out for you. And it's taken a little bit longer than expected to put it together, but we've got it done, so we'll roll that here shortly. But in this episode, we're going to be talking about FSU's most recent game against Louisville this past Saturday. Kind of the struggles that we're going through as fans of our respective football teams that we cover, the Seminoles and Broncos for the NFL, and kind of where we're going at, where do we go out from here? Here we are at the end of October. Where do we see the teams, both of those teams respectively, going at from this point forward? So stay tuned after the intro. All right. What'd you think? I know, a little bit long. It's like, 16, 17 seconds long, but pretty cool. We've got some other variations. Maybe we'll throw out the 10-second one for the next episode. But we just wanted to come at you with the full bells and whistles for the first episode. So what'd you think of it? Throw some likes, throw some comments down in here. Let us know what you thought of that intro, and hopefully enjoy the rest of the episode too. So pressing on. So first off, it's great to be back in the state of South Dakota. We were actually spending a little bit over, about a week in Central Florida a couple weeks ago. And we got to kind of watch some of the highlights of the Notre Dame game. We were out with a family friend at supper that night and kind of catching some of the highlights of that game. And, and we watched the UNC game from the hotel off and on because we were getting ready for an early morning flight. But, we had a really great vacation, a lot of fun. Took our granddaughter on her first airplane ride. And, outside of trips to Colorado, it's her first major vacation. And first time we've been back in the state of Florida since 2014. So a lot of fun was had by all. But we're back to business now. We're back to normal life in South Dakota where we enjoyed snow the day we drove back. And that was awesome. So still not sure why we left the sunshine of the East Coast, but we press on. So here we go. Like I said, we watched the Notre Dame game, some highlights off and on, and we're impressed with a lot of things about that game. The team showed a lot of grit, a lot of heart, and even though they fell behind, they never totally gave up. I mean, that team was playing strong on defense. They had some really great goal line stances. So things were looking good going into the UNC game, which we also didn't get to watch the whole thing because we had an early morning flight the next day. We're talking like we had to leave the hotel at 4 a.m. Eastern time to make it to Sanford, Florida for a 6 a.m. flight. So we caught highlights of that as we were on and off asleep. But thankfully, before we fully dozed off, we did see that FSU won that game. And very impressive win. Top 5 team, maybe UNC's not totally worthy of that top 5 ranking, but things are what they are, and that's what they were at the time, so it's considered a top 5 win for FSU. They played really well in all phases of the game in the first half. Second half, obvious meltdowns, and ended up being a nail-biter, held on to win, but a win's a win, and we were hoping that momentum was going to just totally carry them into the Louisville game this past weekend, and it really didn't. That opening drive, march down, touchdown, great. Everything's looking good. And then outside of that, I don't know what happened. The defense was giving up big play after big play. It just seemed like Louisville could do no wrong. They might stop them and then get a penalty. Or all of a sudden, they squeak by a couple easy tackles. There was at least a couple times I can remember in the first half that they had that man pressed for a loss, a good 3 to 5 loss in the backfield. Somehow gets by several defenders and squirts off for a 20, 30-plus yard run. That can't happen. And it happened with too much consistency. But looking back at the game when Florida State got that safety, and man, literally, I was jumping up, dancing, screaming, shouting in the living room, and my wife and granddaughter probably thought I was nuts. I know my granddaughter definitely thought I was nuts. My wife she just knows to expect that kind of stuff from me. But thought that was going to spark some kind of a rally, at least make it a close game, an interesting game, but that was pretty much it. It just seemed like they couldn't get anything going. There was drop touchdown passes. You can't do that. And, Jordan Travis, love this kid. He's got a lot of great potential. His legs are amazing. He will beat you with his legs almost every time. I mean, he's got, like a 5 or 6 yard average per rush. That's great. But his throws, they could be a little bit crisper. There were times where he just should have floated that ball a little bit more, and he could have given his defender or his receivers a better shot at those 50-50 balls. Could have had a lot more first downs that way. But that just didn't happen, and that'll come with time. And even got to see Chuba. He lined up under center toward the end of the game, showed some possibilities. And with time he'll grow as a quarterback as well. But this is Louisville. They had no conference wins coming into this game, and we just gave them a blowout conference win. Not good. So, but that's my perspective. Let's take a quick look. We've got some highlights from the presser earlier today with Coach Norvell. So let's hear what he has to say about Saturday's game and where they're going from here.
Good work day today. Took a little bit off of them. Just in the time of practice, went shortened periods. Got some good work. Really focusing on fundamentals, continuing to build in that aspect. Got some special teams work. Did get some speed on speed. Just to keep keep progressing and keep pushing these guys with the speed of the game. Going back and reevaluating all aspects of Saturday. Obviously, it was disappointing. Did not play very well in any aspect. It's something that I thought we were in a good place. Night before, morning of, first drive, go down and score, but fell behind, gave up some explosive plays and really lost some momentum. And I thought through the course of the game, really started pressing, trying to do things that were outside of the realm of what we're being asked to do. Throughout the course of the contest, and so we've got to continue to trust the techniques, trust the fundamentals. We put ourselves in a position to make a play. We've got to make a play. We had a lot of missed opportunities, whether it's drop passes, missed tackles, misfits to a gap. Those things that are critical when you're playing a team that is explosive. You gotta respond and play at a high level. And I know I said it last week playing against Louisville, that if we didn't do our job and play at a high level, that they could expose us in a couple areas. And that's something that definitely played itself out. And we just got to continue to grow in where we are and our mindset, approach in all aspects. But I thought our guys have done a good job since Sunday night. We came in, we got a practice in. Obviously made corrections today. Seeing the energy level of towards improvement. I think they're truly embracing that thought process, and I thought we got better today.
So yeah, where does that leave us? These type of games have been all too prevalent for myself as a fan, my household, just because they kind of follow the teams that I follow for the most part. Watching FSU and the Denver Broncos, these kind of games, like the game that Denver had against Kansas City, I get Kansas City's good. No takeaways from that. And to my Aunt Sil, doubt you're watching, but if you are, nothing but love to your Chiefs. They did good. Was definitely hoping that game would have been closer. Thought that they were going to do well, and then maybe that missed extra point was kind of an omen to how that game was going to go. But, yeah, it was kind of a nasty loss to Kansas City, and I don't think that they've beaten KC on their home turf in, gosh, I don't know how, 4 years now? It's too many years. Too many. But yeah, Denver and Florida State, those are the kind of games that have just been haunting me for several years. They're tough to watch. So it almost seems like the little things have been happening with too much consistency. Blown passes, blown coverage, just inopportune penalties where you might have your team, your opponent stopped on a third down, and then you get some kind of a really stupid, pass interference or roughing the passer or offsides that allows that drive to continue, and that team winds up going down the field and scoring and just widening that margin and killing any hope for a rally. It's becoming frustrating. Very, very frustrating. And I'm really hoping that both of these teams, obviously, can turn the corner because, don't get me wrong, I mean, especially in the day and age that we're in right now, COVID-19, so many social norms that we've just grown to take for granted, so to speak, over the years, over decades, are just non-existent now. I mean, we were down in Florida, theme parks, different experience, totally different experience, all due to the pandemic. Still enjoyable, but a different experience. Same thing with sporting events. You look out in the stands and they're just either empty or they're filled with cardboard cutouts or just a minuscule amount of fans compared to what they normally would be. Like my wife talked about, like, hey, we're going to be in Florida during football season. How close are we to actually check out a game? And granted, things being what they were with our travel times and whatnot, there's no way that we could have gone from Central Florida to Tallahassee for a late night kickoff. We pretty much would have had to have driven back down straight to the airport and jumped on a plane. And granted, I probably would have been hyped up after that UNC win. Like the whole drive down, I would have been wide awake, just jamming out in the Suburban. So that would have been cool. But I don't want my wife's first FSU experience or my kids' or granddaughter's first FSU experience to be in that kind of a scenario. The last time I was in Doak Campbell Stadium was for the 98-99 season. It was for the win against Florida when the Red Rooster took the helm after Winky went down a few weeks prior and led us to an incomparable win over Florida. That place was rocking. That is what I want to remember a Doak Campbell experience to be. I don't want that to be my family's first experience, to be what it is now. So even if it was a possibility to go to that game, we wouldn't have, just because of the current state of things. So I digress. Where I was going at with is that I'm grateful for the college football that we do have. Don't get me wrong, and the pro football. Although, if given the choice, I'd definitely watch a college game over a pro game any day. But even though COVID has kind of made it difficult for these teams to have proper spring practices, summer training camps, fall training camps, things like that, you can only make that excuse for so long. Every team has experienced that. Every team's had to go through those same hurdles. Some teams have risen to that occasion and have thrived. Other teams are still struggling. Granted, FSU, new coach, new schemes, all this stuff, on top of COVID. So, yeah, they've got a lot of stuff against them behind the 8-ball big time. But, on the flip side of things, where do we go from here? We're at the end of October, and Florida State has a bye week this week. They don't have a team. They'll host Pitt, the first Saturday in November, 7th, I think. And Pitt, right now, they're 2-3 in the conference. I think 2-4 overall. No, 3-4 in conference, 3-4 overall. And they're a tough team. Don't give me. It's not going to be a cakewalk game any day of the week. Pitt's pretty much, they've got a fairly solid team that you can't sleep on. So the things that FSU has to do to win that game, or even stay in that game, clean up the small stuff. Don't get those errant penalties at the worst possible time of the game. Clean that up, and maybe Travis, get with your receivers. Really work on those passing, on some passing drills. Work on some of those throwing off the cuff, because he loves to throw just, kind of like slingshot it, I would almost say like John Elway style, Joe Montana style. Just kind of sling that ball down there, no real graceful form to it. But kind of work on that. Work on getting some balls that maybe give your receiver a better chance to come down with than having the defender get a hand up in there and knock away. And my God, work on the tackling. Get those hands on those bodies. Bring that ball carrier down. I really don't want to watch that Pitt game and just see guys getting stopped in the backfield and yet still come out with some 10, 20-yard gain. That can't happen if you're going to progress at all this season. Otherwise, you're going to be like this two-win team and you're done. You don't have an easy slate the rest of the season. You've got really tough competition. And on the flip side for the Broncos, good luck. I don't see the things that you have to clean up as simple as that for FSU. You've got a lot more issues, I would say, to clean up than Florida State does. And you've got the Chargers coming to town this weekend on Sunday. So they're not also, a run-of-the-mill team. They're definitely not Kansas City. So, the game hopefully will be closer even if it is a loss. But for either team, don't give me blowout losses. Make it a competition. If you're going to lose, make it a hard-fought game. I will suffer through a hard-fought loss any day of the week versus getting blown out. If I'm wanting to flip the channel in the second quarter, it's not going well. I'll still watch because I'm a diehard fan. I'll watch till that final whistle. But don't make me regret watching that game. That's all I'm asking. So, where we go from here, FSU, smaller things to clean up, but I think that it's doable. And Pitt's going to be a great litmus test for the Noles on the 7th on how well they've adjusted from that Louisville loss and how well they're able to scheme against Pitt's team. And for the Broncos, I know injuries haven't been the best. Locke, I still think he's a great quarterback. That guy's taking some licks. Help him out. And I think that Denver can still pull out a win against LA this weekend, but it's not going to be an easy one. They're going to still have to play the full 60 minutes on that one. The Chargers can be tough. So that being said, thank you for all that have made it this far. And if this is your first time watching, first time to the channel, make sure to subscribe to the channel. It really helps us out. Pound that like button and definitely hit that bell notification so that way you're made aware of all of our future content. As things kind of get under wraps a little bit better, we're still hoping to plug out 2 Laces Out episodes every month. We also do Between the Pipes series for hockey, which we have another episode of that in the works, so stay tuned for that one. And again, thank you all for your support and hope it's a great weekend.